What's up, fight fans, and welcome back to another edition of Everything MMA. Of course, I am the kid. We have the coach back for what's promising to be a really good card, coach. The Last Dance, as we previewed here, the third installment of the Poirier versus Holloway trilogy. And coach, we're trading in some Brooks and Dunn coming from Nashville, Tennessee, and we're trading it for some Louis Armstrong heading down to Louisiana, home of Dustin Poirier. Coach, give me some background on this card. What are we looking at here?
I think we're looking at a fun night. I kind of went over at our meeting, I kind of went over the prelims. There's some rough spots, but there's some really good bangers. And the thing I like about prelims is everybody's trying to get to the big show. There's a couple of fights just prior to the main event that could have been in the main event, but oh well. This is what Dana decides, and it's all good. I'm just thinking, I'm just hoping this is a great finish. It's kind of bittersweet. I have several friends that are ex-fighters, and we were talking about this today at our gym, and they were saying, man, it's just weird because, I mean, you can take the reins on this because, if Max loses, what do you do with Max? And Poirier's just going to ride off into the sunset. So that's kind of really interesting to see what happens next. But you go ahead, kid.
100%, coach. It's so odd to see these guys that have been a staple of the sport since I've been into it, because it's not like baseball where there's a rich history over the last 100 years and you've got guys like Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron who you never saw play, at least for my generation. But Dustin Poirier is a guy who has been a staple in the division the whole time I've been a fan. And so this being his last fight is just a little strange for me, but I think it's a really good send-off. I think he wanted legends only, and he's going to get one in Max Holloway and going to try to go 3-0 over him. And coach, we're going to cover just the last 5 fights on this card, but I just wanted to highlight a really good matchup. The headliner of the prelims is going to be Vinicius Oliveira versus Kyler Phillips. I think for all the fight fans watching right now, that's where you should start watching that card right around the last 2 prelims. I would say watch all the prelims, but if you're going to pick 2 right before the main card, it'd be Brendan Allen versus Marvin Vettori and Vinicius Oliveira versus Kyler Phillips. I think those are 2 really good matchups that we talked about prior. But coach, let's get right into it.
100%, kid. I like it. Let's go.
Let's do it. And coach, kicking off our UFC 318 main card will be a really interesting matchup in the lightweight division. We've got Michael Johnson, a real veteran of the sport, a guy who's actually knocked out Dustin Poirier. And I watched, prior to breaking down this fight, I watched his media day, and he was saying, the first thought I had on this card was, I hope I don't take any shine away from Dustin and his last dance, because I'm really trying to make a push to the title, even at his age, being 39. It's really a strange thing when a guy's opening up the main card and he has a knockout victory over the guy who the card is kind of built around. But nonetheless, he'll be taking on Daniel Zellhuber, a really long, lengthy striker. We saw him come off one of the best fights of the year against Esteban Ribovitz at UFC Noche. Coach, I want you to break this down first, but what an enticing matchup to start the main card.
I agree. I like Daniel a lot. I think he's long, he's got reach, he's got height, he's got KO power. I think the UFC is basically just trying to get this guy's name out there because Michael Johnson's been around a long time.
Yeah.
And it's a good fight for him. So Michael can say he wants to, be the champ again or whatever he wants to do. But this guy's taken a lot of damage. He's been finished at least 12 times. He's lost 19 fights. That's a lot of fights to lose.
Yeah.
And I just feel like at 39 years old, these guys all talk when they're being interviewed, and that's fine. They got to do that. I mean, you can't go, I'm just going in there to get a paycheck. But, he's not a bad fighter. It's a good win for I'm picking Daniel because I think he's young and I think he's hungry. I don't know where the hell he got that name Zell. I'd be more interested in his background, not as a fighter, but where he comes from, because he's from Mexico. Zellhuber, is that German? It's like, bring me Zellhuber. I want to talk to Zellhuber. I mean, what name is that? We're used to Lopez and Rodriguez and all that, and then this kid from Mexico, Daniel Zellhuber. Anyway, I see Daniel knocking him out. I think Michael's he's probably been hit way too many times.
Coach, I'm in agreement with you there. Michael Johnson is a guy, and we talked about this prior. This card is really a tale of the coin flip fighter. This guy could really look like a world champion one night and lose to a guy like Clay Guida on the next night. And you look at the resume, it's incredible. He was Justin Gaethje's debut fight on the main card, the main event. He's got wins over guys like Tony Ferguson prior to that 12-fight win streak. He's knocked out Dustin Poirier. He's beat guys like Edson Barboza. But, Coach, I think you see the 24-19 record, and we talk about sparring as well. This guy trains at Killcliff with guys like Kamaru Usman. He has to have had 300 fights in the last 2 years alone, just sparring days, probably spars 2 to 3 times a week. And, Coach, while I don't think Daniel Zellhuber is the prospect that people were propping him up to be after his Dana White's Contender Series fight, I think there's enough length and enough kind of counter-striking where Michael Johnson is going to have some moments in the early rounds, but I think Daniel Zellhuber catches him late into the second or late into the third, maybe takes a decision here, but I'm in agreement in the first fight here, Coach. I'm with Daniel Zellhuber here.
Yep, all the way. What does that say down there in the weight? Can you read that for me? Because
I think it was a catch weight bout, Coach. I think that 178 pounds was the most recent bout. Yeah.
I was going to say, man, because...
Yeah, this bout will be at 155 pounds, though.
Right, exactly. I'm thinking, is this guy going to miss by 20 or what?
No, hopefully not. Hopefully all the fights stay intact, but we're in agreement on the first pick, Coach. I think we move right along.
I like it. Move on, buddy.
Let's do it, Coach. Moving on to a featherweight bout. Two guys that most recently came off of differing results at UFC Miami. Dan Ige versus Patricio Pitbull, Coach. And this is kind of a make-or-break spot for Pitbull. Coming over from Bellator. He was a 2-division champion over there. Tried to even get a third belt down at 135. And Dan Ige, who's coming off of a stoppage win over Sean Woodson, where kind of looked shaky in the first 2 rounds. The scorecards had him up 2. I had him down 2. And then a really controversial stoppage there. Coach, the one thing that I'm going to highlight here in this fight is the toughness of Dan Ige and the willingness to take any fight. We saw him take a fight on about an hour's notice against a guy who was really, really the most scary prospect in the division against Diego Lopez. Didn't have a bad showing there. I mean, he lost a 29-28 decision, looked great in the third round. Diego slowed down a little bit. And that's what I'm going off of here, Coach. I've seen Dan Ige have some good performances, and I haven't seen a great UFC performance in that one outing from Pitbull against Yair Rodriguez. Coach, I'm going to give Pitbull a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. You're getting thrown directly into a number 1 contenders bout in UFC Miami. It's a huge spot. What I will say is I've seen Pitbull beat a lot of guys like Dan Ige. The smaller guy, he doesn't have a lot of height. Yair Rodriguez was a really tough matchup for Pitbull. And I can see this kind of being a trap line where people are all over Ige and Pitbull maybe ekes out a decision. But, Coach, I'm going to go with Dan Ige. The only thing I'm concerned with there is he loves the hooks and the overhands. I think he's going to find it here, but if he doesn't, the fight gets really sloppy really quick. But I'm going to let you break this down a little further, Coach, but I just don't see anything with Pitbull where I can say he does that really well and he's going to impose his will there with the grappling or with the striking or with the submissions. Like, he has good wrestling, but he's not going to take you down and keep you there. He has good striking, but he's not going to knock you out. He has good jiu-jitsu, but is he going to submit you? Probably not. And, Coach, I'm going to leave it with you here, but I'm going to go with Dan Ige by decision.
Well, you're a fast-talking salesman, my guy, and you're dead on. Pitbull's got no wrestling. He's got no stamina. And we're looking at, okay, if I could do the math, it's 44 fights there. Now, that's just what we see. And we've talked about this with other guys, okay? This guy, and this is featherweight, all right?
Yeah.
So you're getting pummeled all the time because these guys are lightning fast. You're getting hit a lot. And I just don't see him. Like you said, Dan Ige's a dog, man. I love that guy. He's younger. He's got the size and the reach. He hits really hard. I can see him just taking out Pitbull with a KO. Honestly, I just don't. I don't. The Bellator. It's almost like they give those belts out with a fill-up at Texaco. So, I don't love Bellator because we've seen a couple of guys come up from Bellator and they tried to hype them up. Every once in a while you get a guy, but UFC's the major leagues, man. It's the major leagues. And for a guy to come from Bellator, you better be pretty badass. I mean, in my opinion. But go ahead, kid.
Most definitely, Coach. Last thing I'll add about this fight, I think no disrespect to Pitbull or anybody that has come over from PFL, Bellator, Ryzen, but they pay a lot of money to acquire these guys from different organizations because the UFC knows that these fight fans are starting to realize that these other organizations are becoming more prominent. So they're signing these guys for big money. Of course, they're going to throw them in there for big fights. I mean, we've seen fights scheduled with Aaron Pico taking on Movsar Evloev for the #1 contender fight, and Aaron Pico wasn't even a champion in Bellator. So when you pay big money for these guys, of course you're going to put them in big spots. I think Patricio Pitbull's over the hill. If maybe if we got him 10 years ago when he was fighting the likes of Michael Chandler and guys like that in Bellator when he was really in his prime, I would be all over Pitbull here because this is a tailor-made matchup for him. But I think at this stage in his career, Dan Ige is the hungrier guy. Dan Ige is the more powerful guy. I think 50K gets it done by late stoppage or decision here.
Yeah, and think about this. Dana is smart to steal these guys from these other places because if you follow Bellator,
yeah,
and you get hyped about a guy, and all of a sudden they snatch this guy,
yep,
you're going, oh, I'm going to jump over there and watch and see what he does.
Yep.
Now you've got that audience along with your built-in audience.
Yep. And
so yeah, go ahead.
The thing is, Coach, what's the harm in signing him? Because on one side he wins, and all of a sudden you got a new star, and on the other side he loses. And all of a sudden, well, kid, the UFC is the major leagues. Looks like that Bellator wasn't all that it's cracked out to be. So there's no losing when you sign a guy like that, Coach. And I'll conclude on that.
All right, let's move on.
Let's do it, Coach. Both in agreement on the first two fights. And I think we'll be in agreement here, Coach. We've got our guy, Kevin Holland, taking on Daniel Rodriguez. And Kevin Holland, man, another coin flip fighter. You never know what you're going to get from this guy. Supremely talented, black belt in jiu-jitsu, has a lot of creative strikes and angles. Coach, I'm going to get straight to the point here. I think Kevin Holland puts it on D-Rod, and I don't think D-Rod has anything for Kevin Holland. I think Kevin Holland stops him in the first 2 rounds. What do you think?
I think you're 100% right. Kevin Holland has looked good lately. You never know who you're going to get, but it almost seems like the last few times I've seen him fight, he was talking like he always does. That's his trademark. But then he gets serious, and when he gets serious, man, he's a badass. And Daniel Rodriguez, it says it's 19-5-0, but we talked about this. He's 50-0 in jail, and that's where he got all his ink. And I mean, I just don't think he's got anything. He just wants to fight. He's got no wrestling. He lost a couple of fights to some decent fighters. Let's be honest, Neil Magny and Ian Gary, they're both tough dudes, man. But and I think this guy's they're all tough to get to this level. I mean, let's be honest, but some guys are just more elite. And I think Kevin Holland, if he actually got totally serious and wanted to find out what his potential was, I get the feeling he's starting to get there now. And I don't know why, because he's such a clown. Even when you see him on Embedded or whatever, he's always clowning. But that's what keeps him in the mix, because he's a fan favorite. And a lot of these guys, man, as far as personalities, they flatline.
Yeah.
And Kevin is he's fun. You got to admit, he's a fun dude, man. Yeah. I mean, and it didn't hurt him to do that commercial with Wonder Boy, because they both came off really cool.
I agree, Coach. And there's been so many winnable matchups for Kevin Holland. I mean, even look at the top of the division, the guy who's the champion right now, Jack Della Maddalena. Kevin Holland had some moments in that fight, and it felt like if he just stepped on the gas a little bit, dude, come on, you're right there. And there's been a few fights like that, the Stephen Thompson fight as well, where it's like, as a fan, you go, he didn't show up tonight. And if he just showed up 10% more, and he wins that fight. And Coach, I think Kevin Holland has kind of a complex where we talked about this prior as well, where he doesn't want to see that full potential, because what if he loses and he puts it all out there and he loses? And I think, like you said, even what if he wins? I mean, there's a responsibility of being a champion, and you're no longer that fun guy. You hold the belt, and that's a major responsibility. But Coach, I think with Daniel Rodriguez, he's a guy who is a very, very decent striker. I think this guy is a good striker. I'm not going to, sit here and say Daniel Rodriguez should be in PFL or Bellator. I think Daniel Rodriguez beats a lot of guys on the feet, but he's very compact and kind of a stocky striker. He doesn't create a lot of angles. He's kind of just a straightforward striker, and that beats a lot of guys at the lower end of the division. But I think Kevin Holland is really an elite talent, Coach, and I think he puts it all together. There's no threat here with Daniel Rodriguez. I think if Kevin Holland is cruising, he takes a decision. But if he's coming in there hungry, and I watched Embedded as you did, Coach, and his coaches said, Kevin's been training like no other. We haven't seen him like this locked in. And I think the combination of that with maybe the threat of him thinking this could all go away one day, like I'm getting older, I might not have another run in me. Coach, we talk about the last dance with Dustin Poirier. This could be the last run at a title at 170 for Kevin Holland, and I think it starts here by finishing Daniel Rodriguez.
And 170 is a good weight for him too. He's a lot more comfortable there. I don't take much stock in what these coaches say. They're all going to say this is the best he's looked. I mean, what are they going to say? Yeah, he's fat and out of shape, and we're just picking up a check so we can go out to Sizzler later.
Fair. Yeah, I'll leave it on this, Coach. I think Daniel Rodriguez, this fight was booked twice prior. I think he got suspended for 6 months for what they say was a diluted sample, but he was already old. He's already up there near 40, and you get him out for 6 months, and now you're having him fight Kevin Holland. Coach, it's a recipe for disaster for me for D-Rod. Kevin Holland takes it in 2. Let's move on.
Yep, I'm with you.
Coach, moving on to our co-main event. Kind of a shaky one here. Paulo Costa in a co-main event in 2025 is a little bit weird for me, especially against Roman Kopylov, but I think this is going to be our first fight of the night that we disagree on, Coach. We have Paulo Bohashinia Costa versus Roman Kopylov. I'm buying a little bit of stock in Costa here, Coach. He's saying he's going to go back to the eraser where he's throwing first, and we haven't seen that in the last couple fights. We saw a big moment in the first round against Whitaker where he landed that head kick, and Whitaker was a little bit wobbly. But outside of that, really the last 3 fights have been very meh. And I know he beat Luke Rockhold, but that was an aged Luke Rockhold who had been knocked out 4 times in a row. Nonetheless, Coach, I think Paulo Costa gets it done here. I don't know. Something's just telling me, and this isn't my expert analysis. This is just more so me saying I saw a hole in Kopylov's game against Fluffy Hernandez. And I think that's something that can really be exploited by Costa by him being more physical. And I think Costa throws first here. I think Kopylov is really a guy who likes to throw those high kicks. He likes to throw kicks near the midsection and to the head. I think he gasses out a little bit. I think Paulo gets a 3rd round finish here, Coach. What do you think?
Well, Paulo, I've always liked him because he's a pretty boy, and he's likable.
Yeah.
And he looks great. And there's times when you watch him and you go, God, this guy should be a champion.
Yes.
He just looks so good. He's actually scary good. And he just looks like somebody that would look great as a champ.
Yes.
But don't let all that stuff fool you because I get the feeling he's lazy. And from what I've heard and the word on the street, Roman Kopylov has been training hard and he's been improving and he's been working hard to be a much better all-around fighter because first time I watched him, I thought, man, I really like this kid. And the next time I saw him, I thought, what isn't that funny how that can happen?
Yeah.
Where you watch a guy and you go, holy cow, I'm gonna buy his pants and his shirt and his jacket with his name on it. And then the next time you see him, you go, oh my God, thank God I didn't buy that stuff.
For sure.
And he was one of those guys. But from what I've heard from the people I've talked to on the inside, he's been really working hard to improve in every aspect. And so I got to go with him. And I just think that Paulo is going on to his past and on his looks and hanging out in other guys' corners and being a semi-coach, you know what I mean? Just helping out with the nerd squad. And Roman is just, plus he's Russian, man. Russians are just, I watch all the Rocky movies, and every time I see a guy with that accent, I start thinking, oh man, this guy's got no life but to fight and try to get out of, the gulag. So,
yeah,
I'm going to go with Roman just because I think he's hungrier.
Yeah, Coach, I think Roman has looked so good in those matchups because those matchups were so tailor-made for him. I think the Alessio De Chirico fight and the Cesar Almeida fight, those are both kickboxers. They're not going to bring you an element of, throw the clinch in, throw the grappling in. They're purely strikers. And the reason why I'm going with Paulo here is I think Paulo's going to be the one that goes first in this fight. And I'm buying some stock in what he's saying. And I know sometimes fighters just say that, oh, I'm going to turn back into the eraser. I'm going to turn back into this guy that was on the 5-fight win streak that got me a title shot against Adesanya. But, Coach, I think Costa's going to be the more physical man. I think he's going to initiate the clinch. I think Kopylov's going to slow down late. And I'm going to take Paulo Costa at plus 200. This is going to be my underdog pick of the week. I know we went with Cater last week, and that was an aging vet against kind of a surging prospect in Steve Garcia. And that kind of bit us a little bit. But, Coach, I'm going to go back to the well. We hit our first underdog of the week when we hit on Peyton Talbot. And our second one didn't fare as well. But, Coach, I'm going to go with Paulo Costa in a big value spot, in a spot where I think this is a make or break for him. He kind of falls out of the rankings if he loses this one. I think he defends that spot, Coach, and I think Roman maybe has some holes in his game that he needs to shore up, and I think Paulo might exploit that.
Yeah, you might be right, and I do like Paulo. I like him a lot. he's another Kevin Holland who shows up.
Yeah.
Because I've seen him fight, and it was like, what is he doing? It's like it didn't seem like he even cared. Like he just was going out to pick up a check, and then it almost seems sometimes like he's a pretty boy, and because you never see him take a whole lot of damage. I mean, I haven't.
Yeah, no,
You know
most
what I mean?
definitely. Even when he got knocked out by Adesanya, it was like, there's not much showing damage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he might have flopped.
I agree. That was a little bit of a weird one, and he had some weird built-in excuses where I was drinking too much wine the night before. Come on, bro. I don't think there's going to be any wine here. I don't think there's going to be any weight cutting issues like the weird situation with Marvin Vettori. The coach is going with Roman Kopylov. The kid is going with Paulo Costa by decision. We'll see who takes it, Coach. Let's put a burrito on the line next time I see you. Let's put a little side bet on here.
Sure, man. I'm cool with that.
Fair.
Yeah, I'm down.
Let's do it.
Move on.
Let's move on, Coach. Let's go to our main event here. We previewed it with our intro. This is the highlight of the evening, Coach. This is why we're here at the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans. Dustin Poirier's last walk, his last dance for the BMF title against another legend in Max Holloway. And Coach, these are two bona fide legends. Dustin said he wanted legends only for his retirement fight. They were kind of throwing around the Paddy Pimblett name. Dustin quickly shut that down. And he gets what he wants here. This is a certified legend in Max Holloway, coming off a loss to Ilia Topuria, but somebody who's still squarely in the mix in that division at lightweight. He had a huge win against Justin Gaethje where he poured it on and got a last-second finish. Of course, one of the most memorable finishes in UFC history at UFC 300. And we've got Dustin Poirier, who's coming off, it says a loss, but really that was one of the more stock-gaining losses for me. He kind of put it on the pound-for-pound number one in Islam Makhachev for 4 rounds until he got stopped. And I didn't think he would look that good. I think maybe Islam gave him some time to work where he wanted to showcase his striking to the world. But nonetheless, Dustin looked incredible against a guy who has been virtually unbeatable. Coach, I've been really struggling with this one, going back and forth. The thing I don't like about Dustin here is, although he is 2-0 against Max, I hate when retirement is floated around prior to the fight and it's publicly known. All the media is talking about, is this really your last fight? Dustin's talking about, I'm ready to get off the UFC. This is my last fight. I want to have another kid. I want to hop right on steroids and get jacked. I don't know, Coach. I just don't like that mentality. I don't like that, that predisposed thought in your mind where you're walking into the octagon already knowing that there's a way out. And for Max, I don't like that the allure of the best chin I got the best chin in the UFC, baby. I can't get cracked. Well, the dam opened with Ilia Topuria, and I know Ilia Topuria has opened pretty much everybody's dam. Volkanovski, Holloway, and now Oliveira all in a row. But it doesn't look good to me, Coach. Dustin was cracking him hard in the second fight, and I know that was a long time ago. But, Coach, there's no mystical chin for Max Holloway anymore. And Max is the favorite in this fight, which is a little strange to me. I know this is a little bit of a long breakdown for me, Coach, but I think I'm going to go with Max Holloway. I hate that retirement vibe around Dustin Poirier right now. And if there was no retirement, I would be fully on the Dustin Poirier side. But, Coach, I'm going to let you break this down and make your pick. But I'm with Max here by decision.
Well, you know what? It's really tough. You can't help but like both of these guys. I mean, like you said, it's the legends fight, and somebody's going to be a loser. The problem is, whoever wins and whoever loses. If Max loses, what does that do to his career?
Yeah,
because he's staying in the hunt. If Poirier loses, or it doesn't matter. He goes and hugs his wife and picks up his kid and takes off and lives another life. But if he wins, it's like, God, man. I mean, it's a sweet ending for him. I'm actually picking the Diamond because I just think he's a better fighter, and he's got an array of punches. Max is, I won't say he's a one-trick pony, but he likes to stand and knock out guys. And his chin is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
It's just not. You can't take that much damage and think it's going to hold together. And Dustin's got so many angles, and he's got so many different ways he can beat you. If he doesn't get stupid during the match, get emotional, I think he's going to win. I really do. The fights from the past, that was like one fight was 10 or 12 years ago. The other one was like, I don't know, 2019. Those don't count. A lot happens in 5 or 6 years, and certainly in 12.
Yeah.
So I just think Dustin is going to be hyped. I think he's going to be at home. I think he wants to win it and be at peace with himself, and I just, it's sad because, like we said, you hate to see, because I don't mind Anthony Smith, but I hated to see the way he went out. It was just weird for him to have a fight where his friend died, and then another fight where he's retiring and he gets whooped, and it's like I just don't want to see that anymore.
Yeah.
But like I said, somebody's got to win, and I think it's the Diamond, which is unfortunate in some ways, but that's who I'm picking.
Yeah, Coach. I think either side of the coin that you're on, I don't think there's any wrong as far as picking either guy. I'm kind of worried about Max Holloway because his style is kind of take one to give one. And I'm going to rely on my chin to give you 3 more punches. And I think if he takes that same style into this fight, the chin's going to get touched up again, because even though they have fought 2 times, like you said, kind of throw those out the window. I'm putting more stock into the second fight just because it was more recent, but Max was the much smaller man in that fight. He's more of a lightweight now. He's put 145 in the rearview mirror. Coach, something is just telling me Max Holloway takes this one. I think the UFC wants Max Holloway to take this one because, like you said, what's the plan for Max's career? You lose a star. If he loses this fight, you lose 2 stars because Dustin wins, he retires, and now Max has to go fight the B leagues of 155. So if Holloway wins this fight, it sets up a great matchup with Oliveira, and then Holloway's one fight from a title, and that's a huge fan base. You got all of Hawaii backing him. I'm going to pick Max Holloway by decision here, Coach, and this is going to be my fight of the night pick. We've gotten our last 2 right. We predicted Charrier versus Landwehr last week. Prior to that, we had the absolute banger. Coach, what was the fight of the night 2 weeks ago? I'm sorry.
God, I don't even remember.
I'm sorry. Royval versus Van, fight of the year.
Yeah.
And we predicted that as well.
Yeah,
I don't think I can go anywhere else with this one, Coach. This is my fight of the night. I think I'm hoping for a war where both guys kind of raise stock. And if Dustin Poirier is to win, it doesn't set Max Holloway back like a finish would. I'm going to take Max by decision, Coach, and that's where I'm going to stay. I've been going back and forth prior to this. Even when we were breaking down the co-main event, I was thinking, who am I going to pick? I'm going to go with Max Holloway by decision. Book it.
But you know what? Here's the thing. In some ways, it kind of depends on how it ends up, too. Because the Holloway-Gaethje fight, I mean, there was no losers or winners there. You know what I mean? I mean, it was a legendary fight. Yeah. Anytime you're involved in a legendary fight, you're basically a legend, and you're going to get more work if you want it.
Yeah.
Because people are going to go, oh, man, remember that last time he fought? That was awesome. And you remember stuff like that. Dustin's going to be – he's going in the Hall of Fame,
Both guys.
And Max, Max is a great fighter. There's no 2 ways about it. But, man, he gets cracked, and he's another guy you can't help but like, He's like DuBronx and several other guys that have just meant so much to the fight game. You know what I mean? So I don't know. The only thing that bothers me, and I think I told you this before, it could end up being shit sandwich. I hate to say it, but
it could be a glorified sparring match, Coach, where neither guy wants to hurt each other in their last dance.
Because they're buddies. And the other thing is,
I've worried about that as well.
You've seen Hangover 3. You've seen Godfather 3. Those are 2 of the worst movies ever. And I'm just hoping this isn't, Holloway Poirier 3, and it's like, oh my God, that was forgettable. And you're right. I mean, these dudes are close. I watched Embedded, and it's almost like I'll tell you, it's almost like the Topuria fight where he goes, God, I'm going to knock him out in the first. I'm going to hate to do it.
Yeah.
Because I respect this guy. And it's almost like you hate to see either one of these guys win or lose because you want to keep people going that you like. That's all there is to it.
100%, Coach. And I think we're going to finish it there. I mean, I'm thinking somebody goes 5-0 this week, Coach. We're in agreement on the first 3 picks. Last 2 we're on different sides of the coin. The kid, of course, taking Max Holloway, and the coach, the legend, siding with another legend in Dustin Poirier in his farewell. Coach, before we go, I just wanted to thank everybody that watched, and I want to thank you as well for your time. I think we've been trying to bridge the gap between casual and expert, and I think you've been killing it in your analysis, bringing up points that even I haven't thought of. So I wanted to thank you for your time. And everybody that's watching, you don't have to like, you don't have to subscribe, but drop a comment down below. Tell us your predictions so you can have just as much fun as us watching the fights. And Coach, this has been really enjoyable to kind of see our predictions play out live on screen. And yeah, I just wanted to say I appreciate you, Coach. I appreciate your time.
Well, it's such a pleasure to be with somebody that's so knowledgeable, because it helps me understand. You've taught me a lot about the ins and outs of the whole thing. It's kind of like when you watch when a layman watches UFC, they just go, God, this is stupid. They're just a bunch of guys beating each other up.
Yeah.
But you're a trained fighter, kid, and you know what these little holds and all that. I'm still learning. You actually go in and work with jiu-jitsu guys, and you know the different holds and all that. And so you kind of taught me a few things too. There's a lot more to it than guys just laying on a guy and twisting his wrist and stuff. It's so fascinating when you start to understand it. And I tell people at my gym, hey, you know what? Try to tune in and watch. You don't have to love it, but try to understand it and understand the allure of it. And also, you don't have to bet. Have your friends over and just make a gentleman's bet. Like you and I are up for a burrito.
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, I'm hoping that I'm going to win, because I got my sights set on this fat burrito with lots of guacamole.
Nice. Yeah, so now we got 2 authentic Mexicans on this card, Daniel Zellhuber and that burrito, Coach. We're going to finish it off with that. Coach, I appreciate your time. Let's get it next week. We've got UFC Abu Dhabi, Rene de Ridder versus Robert Whittaker. A legend goes out. Potentially another legend is made on this card. Coach, have a great night. We'll be back next week.
Love you, kid. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Love you, Coach.